Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Today we're going to a really fascinating intersection, right, where digital innovation meets cultural preservation.
Sounds
We
interesting.
were talking about how American Indian tribes are using data sovereignty and even cryptocurrency to shape their digital future.
Wow. Okay.
And to guide us, we're taking a close look at this insightful piece from the Department of Technology. I think you'll find it as eye-opening as I did.
Definitely. When I read the article, I was struck by how indigenous communities are using technology not just to catch up, but to really lead the way in shaping their digital destinies.
Absolutely, it's truly inspiring.
It really is. And what's even more exciting is that they're creating a blueprint for a more equitable digital future for everyone, really.
Yeah, and the article really emphasizes how data sovereignty is becoming crucial, especially for American Indian tribes, right?
For sure.
So before we get too far, can you break down exactly what data sovereignty means?
Of course. Data sovereignty is basically the right to control your information, like how it's collected, how it's used, stored, shared, even your community's information and your culture. It's about who gets to make the decisions about your data.
So it's like data privacy, but on a much, much larger scale, I'm guessing.
Exactly. Think of it like this. Imagine a company taking a tribe's traditional knowledge, say, about a medicinal plant, and then patenting it and making a profit, all without the tribe's consent.
Wow.
That's just one example of why data sovereignty is so critical for indigenous communities.
That's a powerful example. And it makes it clear that data sovereignty goes beyond just data. It's
Hmm.
about respect and rights and self-determination.
Precisely. And this need for control, this need for sovereignty over data, is actually what led to a landmark piece of legislation, the First Nation Data Sovereignty Act.
Oh, I've heard of that.
It recognizes the inherent right of tribes to own and control their data, and it lays down some ground rules for how that data should be handled.
So it's about giving tribes more autonomy over something that's becoming increasingly valuable in our digital world, which is, of course, data.
Exactly.
But the article doesn't stop there. It goes on to highlight how tribes can leverage this control to create new opportunities, especially through things like cryptocurrency, which I'll admit can seem a bit confusing sometimes.
Yeah, it can seem that way. But at its core, cryptocurrency is a very powerful tool for tribes to exercise data sovereignty, and it goes way beyond just money.
Really? How so?
Well, imagine a system where tribes can secure their data, conduct transactions, even build entire digital economies all on their own terms.
You mentioned tribes creating their own digital economies. That sounds almost revolutionary. How would that work?
Well, that's where blockchain technology comes into play, which is the technology that underpins cryptocurrencies.
Right, blockchain. I always think of it as this super secure digital ledger.
It's more than that. It's decentralized, so no one entity controls it, and it's incredibly transparent.
Okay, so it really is like a secure digital fortress for their data. Imagine the peace of mind that must bring. But can you give us a real-world example of how a tribe might use cryptocurrency?
Absolutely. One fascinating example is the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. They're actually exploring the creation of their own cryptocurrency.
Wow, their own currency. What would be the benefit of that?
It's about economic empowerment, really. By creating their own financial system, they can facilitate trade within their communities, support their own local businesses, and even interact with the global marketplace, but on their own terms.
So they're not just securing data, they're taking control of their economic future. Incredible.
It really is. And it goes beyond just financial transactions, too.
Oh, right. The article also talked about tribes using this technology to create digital archives of their cultural heritage.
Exactly. They can safeguard things like language, art, their stories, those things central to their identity, and keep them safe and secure digitally.
I see. So they get to decide who has access
Mhm.
and how the information is used.
Exactly. It's about owning and celebrating your narrative in a digital age.
It's like building a digital bridge that connects their past, present, and future. Really powerful.
It really is. And what's even more impressive is that they're not doing it alone. The article highlights the importance of collaboration, especially with the Department of Technology.
They're stepping up as a real partner in this endeavor. What kind of support is the Department of Technology actually providing?
It's a multifaceted approach, really. They're helping with things like, digital infrastructure development,
Which makes a lot of sense.
for sure. So that includes things like expanding broadband access in tribal communities.
Right, because you need a strong foundation.
Exactly. You need that strong foundation to build anything lasting in the digital world.
Absolutely.
But it's not just about infrastructure, right? The department is also really invested in capacity building.
What do you mean by that?
Well, they're offering training programs to help tribal members develop the skills they'll need to manage their data, use new technologies effectively.
So they can become leaders in this space.
Exactly. Become leaders. It's about giving them the tools and the knowledge.
Right, like that old saying, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime.
Exactly. But in this case, it's about digital self-sufficiency, you know?
I love it.
And they're doing this through workshops, mentorships, all sorts of things. In fact, the article even mentioned a specific program where they're training tribal members on cybersecurity best practices.
Oh, that's smart. Because with all the amazing things that come with technology, there are also risks.
For sure, there are definitely risks. So it's great to see that they're focusing on responsible and safe implementation.
Definitely.
And here's another key aspect. The department is also working directly with tribes to develop kind of like customized digital strategies.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because they understand that there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Every tribe is different, yeah.
Right. Every tribe has its own unique culture, its own priorities, its own vision for the future.
That's so important. Respecting tribal sovereignty and ensuring that technology serves their needs, not the other way around.
Exactly.
It sounds like a genuine partnership.
It really does. The Department of Technology brings its expertise and support, but ultimately it's the tribes who are leading the way, shaping their own digital destinies.
It's inspiring to see how these principles of data sovereignty, cryptocurrency, collaboration are all coming together to create positive change.
It really is. And for me, the most important takeaway is that this isn't just about technology. It's about empowerment. It's about self-determination. And it's about creating a more just and equitable digital landscape for everyone.
I love that. It's about making sure everyone has a voice and the ability to shape their own digital future.
Exactly.
It almost feels like we're seeing a paradigm shift in how we think about data and technology.
I agree. And this is only the beginning, which is really exciting.
It's been really interesting to talk about these big, exciting ideas, but I love how the article brings it down to earth and shows how these ideas are playing out in the real world.
Yeah, I agree. It's not just theory. It's about real communities using these tools to make a difference.
Exactly. Like, there was this one example that really stuck with me about a tribe that used its digital infrastructure to create an online marketplace.
Oh, yeah, for their arts and crafts, right.
Yeah. They were able to connect with a global market, but they did it on their own terms.
Exactly. It's fantastic.
They had control over their data and their narrative. It wasn't like they were just passive participants in some big corporation's platform.
Right. It's all about economic empowerment, cultural preservation, and self-determination all in one.
Totally. It creates jobs, generates income, allows them to celebrate and share their traditions with the world. It's like a win-win-win situation.
It really is.
And another example about a tribe creating a digital archive of their cultural artifacts to preserve for generations to come.
Oh.
Wow, so powerful.
It's like they are taking control of their own legacy, It's digital guardianship at its best.
Yeah, they control who has access to that information, how it's used.
And they can use it to educate others about their culture, too. It's really powerful stuff.
This whole deep dive has been incredibly eye-opening. I feel like we've just scratched the surface of what's possible when we think about technology being used intentionally and collaboratively.
I agree. It's been a great discussion. And I think the most important takeaway for me is that this isn't just a story about technology. It's a story about empowerment and self-determination and the potential for a more just and equitable digital future for all of us, really.
Beautifully said. So as we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought. What if the principles these tribes are pioneering, this data sovereignty, this control, this self-determination, what if that became the standard for how all communities, all of us, approach data and technology? What would that future look like?
That's a powerful question. Something to think about for sure.
It really is. It's been a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for guiding us through this deep dive.
My pleasure. Always happy to discuss these important topics.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.